It was terrific. We were so thrilled by it,
Yeah.
as well as the verbiage.
Yes.
And I'm sorry I caused such a fracas, but
So I'm actually, it's gotten, more press than it would have
well,
otherwise.
exactly. That's
So,
perhaps that's the beauty of this.
right, yes. So, and your name?
Dee Dee.
Dee Dee.
Yes.
Oh, yes, you wrote in the book.
Yes.
And somebody sent me a quote from Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, that said, bad press is better than no press at all. And I just said, how ironic.
How ironic indeed.
Yeah. So,
Well, how has the turnout been today? Pretty good?
it's been nice. We just started, so
Right.
there's a guy in here with his 4 kids who are and looked at everything and asked questions and
Good.
so
Were they teenagers or?
No, younger than that. Right. So yeah, I don't know how old this is, like maybe 10 to 12 or 14. I don't know. There are 4 of them. I don't know.
Right.
Right. Maybe there's. They've been in here. They saw me when I came back on Thursday to
Oh,
hang it.
splendid.
And, yeah. So they went around and looked at a whole bunch of them.
Wonderful.
That's-
Well, I applaud your artistry
Thank you.
and what a fascinating medium.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you found these pieces of litter around various places?
Well, some of them were I just found in my kitchen. So, there's some of them I know that I made. We go away in the winter, and so I don't take my art supplies with me. I
Right.
mean, I have glue and thread and that kind of thing, and I go to the local. They call it a thrift sale down there, and buy a canvas somebody has donated or a board, and then put the stuff on it, and everything in those are just, the plastic bag stuff comes in, and then it's an island, so if I don't have a certain color, I will go to the east side of the island where the big waves come in and all the trash washes on shore. I'll take some big bags and do a cleanup, and then I'll take some little bags and pick up the colors I need. So,
Wonderful.
yeah, and it's great because I spend almost nothing on my art except for like schlepping around. But other people, a pastel, a high quality pastel is $20 a stick.
Exactly.
Right, and mine is, I don't even know what I spend. It's hardly anything
A
else.
little bit of glue.
A little bit of glue, and I'm using less and less glue. So now and I have my mother's thread collection and my mother-in-law's thread collection. So I don't need to buy thread, and all their needles. And people's mothers and grandmothers' button collections. People give me stuff, and when people say, "Oh, I'll save my trash for you," I'm like, "No, that's okay." Right. But there are a few people who I've approved them giving me stuff. So that I have this room with everything sorted by color. And then if I need something, I just pull out that drawer or that box.
How fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, how did you start?
Well, I was,
You
I've
were-
been an artist since, I was in a little grasshopper. And when I lived in Oregon, I did these pieces I called trash totems, which were kind of fantastical humanoid figures on trash. And I moved to Connecticut, and I couldn't really make art. Nothing spoke to me. Then I retired. That helps. And took up scuba diving. And 6 months after I started scuba diving, I was like, fish. It's the perfect subject matter for this medium, because I was already using trash.
Right.
And I was like, I began to learn so much about trash in the ocean. And so I made fish that was 2013, for 3 years. And then this election happened in 2016, and I was so devastated. I couldn't continue to make fish. So I started to make, the first one I did was, of course, the man himself. And then started making portraits of other people in his administration. They take a long time. So then very quickly, it became clear that the turnover was huge, way higher than any other president.
Yes.
And I understand there's going to be some turnover. Working in the federal government at that level is really stressful.
It certainly is.
And cabinet members don't make a ton of money.
Right.
I mean, they make more than we make.
Right.
The Washington D.C. area is expensive.
But for the amount of time they put in and the
Right.
energy is expended. Yes.
Yeah, and they have to have, 2 residences and that kind of thing. So, but it was so clear that so many people were leaving. Either they were quitting or they were being fired. And the Washington Post put together a slideshow about it, and I started using that as my guide of who to make.
Okay.
And then I did some who were just people who were just key to his administration.
The different artists are
So
here.
that's what I did, and I did that for 4 years.
Maybe it's the end of the month and she took it down. And then I heard the story from Barbara
Yeah,
Butterworth.
yeah, poor Barbara. It was,
Well, I'm so glad you put it back up.
Thank you. I forgot one of the pieces, and I forgot it again today, so maybe I'll bring it Tuesday. See where there's a,
Oh, I
but
see
I
the
can
hook
see
there.
kind of, it's like, right now, it's kind of symbolic.
Yes, exactly.
And that was actually the
Because
first.
Barbara said, I'm gonna leave the lights on and all the hooks on the wall.
Uh-huh. Yes, and they did. And and so when I hung it again, I hung it in a different order. I didn't make sure I hung it exactly the same way. And so didn't have to move many of the strings. And that one is Sally Yates, who was the first person that the president fired, and he fired her in a one-line email because he said he implemented this. The Muslim ban, and she was the acting attorney general. She told the Justice Department people to shake my fist up again. Against the law. And so we fired her. Of course, that's the easiest way to go around it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody said.
No, that was last year.
Oh, that was last year.
Right, those are,
Okay.
that's another series, the first in their cohort to be elected or appointed to different positions. From the first woman vice president, first woman black South Asian vice president, to,
First black on the Supreme Court or whatever.
no, I didn't do that because I did 2020.
So, oh, yeah.
There's just too many. I would have done her, but, and then to the first
It's in that
trans
little,
man
one of the display cases.
the
Felton,
Grove,
the
Pennsylvania City Council.
I'm very.
And then I saw there was an exhibit coming up in some
Or something, just,
and I wasn't applying for it, but I wrote them and said, I'm not applying for the exhibit, but here's this piece.
Right.
Would you be interested? I didn't hear anything, but I just had to.
That is so good.
Yeah, I would never think, that.
Right. Oh, I had to dig up the trans man.
Had to do a lot of research.
I did a lot. Somebody asked me, do I have this long stick I used to play?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can be away, yeah.
I work in 1-inch squares, and then I'll step back and see, how I'm doing after.
So do you take a photograph first
Yes.
and break it into squares?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I use
okay.
the software that they use to edit pictures and manipulate pictures has a grid option, and I put the grid on it.
And then you can even blow it up really large.
Yes, I
think,
will
right?
expand it and zoom in to see the little spot. And what I will do is
felt lady.
Oh,
yeah.
no, that's like, yeah, right. So people gave me stuff to do felting, and I gave it to another felter because I was like, I don't need another.
Right? I know. I would try everything if you let me.
Yes, right, yeah. So they're, I love the little, they're clever, so clever, the little bowls.
Oh, thank you.
And she said, what do you put in?
thank
I
you.
said, dry stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
dry stuff. Yeah. It is funny too, and everyone's like, what do I use?
Hi.
You have a story to tell. I'm sure you
I
already
have
told it to
been.
these people.
This is Diane Cadrain. She's a fabric artist.
Oh, yay! That's what I do too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she does felting.
Yeah, I've got. When you finish here, I've got one of my.
I'd like to
cases has
see.
one.
Yeah, I do a lot of filming.
And I'm going to have a show at the
Unitarian Society of Hartford.
in 2026 of my fish. Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is my friend Ivy.
Hi.
That's Sarah and her partner.
Deborah.
And yeah, Ivy moved here a couple of years ago and is another fiber artist, among other things.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. And I do use some fabric, but I'm not considered a fiber artist.
So, oh, are we being filmed?
Yeah, this is Joan Coe. She's just memorializing it. She's the town crier, is what Lori said.
Oh, what a great title.
That she, when the town does something that could be a problem, she calls it out to the town.
Oh, so tell us what happened.
So what happened was I hung the show with the original titles and a description that I have. I made this book that has all
Oh,
the
wow.
things that
You're
I
not
wrote
fooling
about in it.
around.
Like I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read it. After Michael Flynn resigned from his position as National Security Advisor, McFarland thought that she could keep her job. Instead, the president nominated her to be the American ambassador to Singapore. The Senate sent her nomination, something. Anyway, it has a description about who they are, why they left, or what they did in them, or how they were or were not really appropriate for the job. Like the one of Rick Perry, and says he was a Secretary of Energy, and it was the department he was going to eliminate that he forgot.
Oh,
in the
that's
debate.
right.
Right.
Oh, God, what an idiot.
Yeah, right. So it had that, and some of them had pithy titles, like Jared Kushner's title was Slumlord Millionaire. And the former president had said 45th president and the first former president to be convicted of 34 felonies.
So that was true, but people didn't like it.
They didn't like it. So after I took it down, and then the library board said I could put it up without the descriptive text. I
Okay.
put it up without the descriptive text, and they still didn't like it because it still had those titles.
Oh my God.
Now, I have to say that the library really supported me in that the head of Children's Services redid the tags. I sent her a file, and she just did their name and their position, and so it could stay up.
It's still censorship.
It is. Yes, it is. And that's Joan's point.
So where did that originate? Well, who raised the flag?
From what I read, on Sunday they had a microburst in Simsbury, and a lot of the power went out.
Oh, that's right.
So Sunday the library's open, which they're not normally open on Sundays in the summer, so that people can have like a cooling center, a place to go.
Yeah.
And she said that she was in this room and she saw that there was
Which
the
she?
first select woman.
I see.
And she got up to read it, and she thought that it was created a hostile work environment that was not family friendly. So then they called me, and they wanted me to come Sunday to take it down. They had taken everything down, I guess, and put it so that nobody could see the titles. I don't know. And I said, I'm not coming. Your urgency is not my emergency.
Yeah.
But I came on Monday and took it down. And then Tuesday morning, they had a meeting. They didn't tell me they were having a meeting. And they made this decision that I could rehang it without the text. But because this is an interesting thing to be aware of, is that when you're not working with another artist or gallerist, what text means is different. I thought they just meant the description part, and they meant the whole text. And so I hung it, and they said, no, you can't do this. You can't have these titles up. And so I talked with them, and that's when they said they would redo the titles.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised only one media outlet has picked up on that.
Well, two.
Two.
The CT Register
Okay.
did a written story. That's because Joan called the reporter. So, and then NBC News, the news director, lives in Simsbury, and she had heard about it, and they read the article in the CT Register. And that's when then Tom Savino contacted me, and he's the politics reporter.
Huh.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
What a saga.
Yeah, it was. My sister wrote, "What drama!"
Yeah.
So are we not allowed to see this text that previously existed
No,
with
you can
these
see
works?
this here.
Yeah, but
Okay, that's
if
on
you
my
were
website.
here, if I came tomorrow and
You
said
would
today,
know.
I wouldn't
Except that-
be allowed
oh, I
to
don't know where it was.
see it?
I had another sign that said, for more information about these pieces, it had a QR code on it. It was not this one.
It's not this one.
But the person who had the, I don't know what happened to it. I'll print another one and bring it Tuesday. I'm doing a trash hour workshop on Tuesday.
Oh.
I'm really disappointed that I can't see it.
Well, you can go to my website and you can go
You have
to
everything there.
You're Fired, I Quit. Yeah, Todd Savino got the title backwards. I quit, you're fired. But you're
I gotta
fired, I
look.
quit.
I know I saw it at the Hartford Library,
Yes.
but it was amazing. I have to
Yes.
look again.
And the text was up at the Hartford Library.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah. I love your shoes, Diane.
Thank you.
I like your shoes too.
Thank you. You like shoes. You were working on them because you must have had like this whole thing in your head going on as you're placing these beautiful pieces of beads, trash, sewing these little stitches. This is a lot of investment for each and every one of these. And I just wonder if you could just talk about it, because I know that when I do my work, I think a lot about what I'm doing and all the things that it means. And this is not one piece or 5 pieces. This is a lot of pieces.
Yes. Well, the trash that I used, with the exception of in the John Bolton one, I just sorted them by color and used the color. I wasn't concerned with what the actual article of trash was that I was using. And I didn't, and this was like a serendipitous, unintentional intentionality, which is that the Trump one is so big and was, glued, which is a little faster than sewing, and then the Melania one is so much smaller, and it's sewn, which is this very focused, gentle art that takes a long time because they're hand sewn, and then, so that's a real juxtaposition between the two and their positions. With the John Bolton, somebody gave me 10,000 knives or something ridiculous like that. So it was perfect for his mustache. And then I was doing the back part of his mouth, and I found this little piece that said love. And the actual official title of it is Warhawk. And I put the piece that says love in his mouth because someone loves him and he loves someone, even if he's a Warhawk. So that was the intentional part of that piece. When I was doing them, I just looked at them as an exercise, not as an, I'm going to stand back and say, oh my God, it's that horrible person, or anything like that. Or oh my God, it's that person who really stood up to their values. I just saw it as, an exercise to complete the portrait and make it look like the person. So that way I removed myself from any emotional aspect of it.
But you chose.
I chose to do them, and that was because of the election in 2016, was that I had been making fish out of trash, and I couldn't make fish. I was just so upset. And I was like, well, I used trash. In fact, there was one piece of in a group show that won an award, and they said, well, how did you choose the medium or something? I think it was Steve Bannon, and I said, well, it is trash. Like, and the person was like, oh, I got it. And that's what some people, and maybe I wrote that too, is that a lot of the people who lost their jobs were trying really hard to stay in their jobs to do the right thing. Really trash this administration. And I also believe that this administration. American values and Republican values. So it's not just straight, Democratic criticism. It's
And because you stapled it on the wall, so to speak, it shows the longevity of how it is still going on.
Yes.
This is the impact of our future.
Yes.
This is lasting forever.
Yes.
This has forever changed what is
Yes.
happening.
Yes. When George W. Bush was president, I knew someone who had worked for the EPA under Ann Pruitt, and somebody said, well, okay, so he's not so great, things aren't great, but, we'll get over it. And he said, it took us 20 years to undo the damage that Ann Pruitt did when she was on the EPA. So, yes, and it could take longer than that. I mean, look at who's on the Supreme Court.
I know.
That's right. It could be a long
This
time.
is why artist shows are important, because we have a voice and we try to display it, show it to the public, and then we're censored. This is not right at all. We really need to have uncensored shows as artists.
And the show in 2019 was at the Hartford Library with the text. It was not censored. So maybe part of the difference was it wasn't the program room. They have a dedicated gallery space, but anybody could go up there. They didn't say.
But it's a library.
Yeah.
How much of the library is censored?
Well,
Is this a censored library community?
I'm
I'm really appalled.
I think it was the first select woman said the difference between the show and what's on the shelves is that was very in your face. And what's on the shelves, you have to go and look for the book by Bill O'Reilly or by Noam Chomsky. You have to go and pull it off the shelf. So that's what her reasoning was. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't agree.
Yes, a lot of people don't agree, and as a result of what the library did, it's gotten much more publicity than it would have otherwise. Yeah. Now they did say this can't get into the press. I didn't put it in the press. I never contacted anyone in the press. I didn't write a letter to the editor. But the people who live in the town did that. Because they want this town to be supportive of diverse opinions.
So I know you told me before, you have some kind of specialized equipment that helps you make sense of all this trash when you step away from it. How does that work?
Oh, actually what I do is I take the photograph and use a software that will either pixelate it or will manipulate it another way, like posterize it. And then I use that as the model rather than trying to just do from the photograph. So it's already broken up. And then I look at individual squares. Like I block grids, 1-inch grids, and then draw the major features like the eyes and the nose and then I'm working the little grids, and then when I'm at a certain point, I'll step back and say, "Oh, how's it looking? Is that okay? Have I made it look like what I want it to look like?" And sometimes I've had to move things around. Of course, that's hard when you're sewing, but then I'll just sew something else on top. No, not all that sewing, but like the line shop is sewing. And over here, so that I've sewn on pieces. Yes.
Now, what was it you were sewing onto the canvas?
Oh, all the buttons and the trash and there's like silicone.
Please help.
You can't glue unless you use an activist. Stuff for sewing.
A lot of hand sewing.
A lot of hand sewing.
Yeah.
And I'm mostly doing hand sewing and stapling now because I'm trying to get away from using any plastic in my art other than the medium itself.
The garbage.
The
Yeah,
garbage,
I remember
right.
that hospital thing you did.
Yes, yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like, and it's something that I've become, 11 years I've been doing this particular art form, I've become more and more aware of the idiosyncrasies. Like, you go to Whole Foods and you can buy organic flaxseed in a non-recyclable plastic bag.
Yeah, okay. That's ironic.
So I buy as much as I can in bulk. Deborah, we buy our eggs in cardboard cartons without any metallic
Thank you
writing
guys
on
for
it.
coming.
Because there are organic eggs in plastic. When I'm in grocery stores, I'll point out to people, what's wrong with those eggs? And I will actually look at it and say, oh, they're organic eggs, packed in plastic. But there's some places that are like switching, like Whole Foods doesn't have plastic containers anymore in their bulk area. Their bulk area is very small, but they have paper bags. So if I'm getting something that's heavy, I'll double the bags. And also, Amazon is moving away from plastic packaging, including the air pockets, which was a big advancement over bubble wrap. But it still was plastic. Now they're using paper. I'm expecting them to go back to using Excelsior. Do you remember Excelsior?
I know of it. It's like straw.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's shredded wood or something like that. And that's when my parents bought furniture in Denmark and had it shipped to the United States, it came in these big wooden boxes with Excelsior in it. You know, we didn't have bubble wrap and all that styrofoam plastic stuff.
Right.
So, and there's some companies that are, instead of forming the thing like your television sits in when it comes in a box, out of styrofoam, they're making them out of a hard firm cardboard.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so the action that people have been taking has been having an impact. We have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But it's still, there are people who are responding. And there's people who work specifically on that, like Beyond Plastics. Bennington, that sort of thing.
Reducing packaging is really difficult.
Yes.
Especially in this era of the surprise. If you go down the toy aisle and you look at LOL Surprise and in a plastic wrap, in a plastic package, and you get all these little tiny pieces inside. So you have a doll and these little tiny pieces, but the packaging is huge. I mean, it's just many pieces from many manufacturers are copying this idea of having these little tiny things in all this layers of plastic packaging.
She's a toy designer, so she knows about this.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing.
Yeah, I haven't been down the toy aisle in a really long time. That's not where I'm going. But,
Nice to see you.
Yes.
but I did see in a pharmacy bamboo toothbrushes wrapped in plastic.
Wrapped in plastic.
Halfway
yes.
there.
Right. I was like,
Oh boy.
that's not really, not good.
So I think the Unitarian Meeting House wants to see her fish. Was that the
Yes,
latest thing that was
yes.
decided?
Yeah, they want my fish.
You'll be, besides working with me, you'll be working with Evan Williams, who is
Yes.
much better at scheduling than I am.
Yes, I've already communicated with him.
Her.
And, her, Evan
Yeah,
is a woman.
how about that?
All right.
Yeah.
I use they. I think the guy who interviewed me yesterday used they, no matter who he was talking about.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, he's a political reporter. So, right.
It's almost safe.
Right. So, in December of 25, I will make a diagram. I'll come before that.
Yeah.
And measure everything, and then I'll make a diagram, and I'll bring the art over. And she said that the society can store them, and then they'll hang them for.
She's working around her stint in Bon
Bon
Air.
Air. which is a
Every
small
year.
island in the South Atlantic Caribbean, and I go there for the winter. For 4
It's delicious.
Lucky you.
Right. Did you go someplace warm this winter?
We went to Charleston, South Carolina for a while, and we made a couple of trips to Florida.
I know.
Florida trips.
They just sweep it up. So I pick it up.
Why not?
Right. Or I will wander the streets looking for stuff, and when I go to an island in the winter, and I'll go to the windward side and pick up trash there and find the colors that I want. Yeah.
Gee, I should have gone because I collect a lot of trash around where we live.
Yeah.
On a triangle.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it got to be so much that I brought a wheelbarrow with me.
Yeah.
And
But you ought to be doing is photographing that and posting it someplace publicly.
yes,
So, or, write a letter to the local newspaper or something like that to say, look, this is ridiculous, we have to stop.
Right.
Because the problem is that there's this influencer, Mr. Beast, who worked with the Ocean Conservancy, and some of the people collected, a certain million tons of trash, which was like, it's hardly a definition. But it was great because he's a young guy, and people pay attention to him. And I was like, this is really great, let's do that. But we really have to address the problem at the source. Because when something gets, blown out of a truck or gets dropped in the street, it gets washed into the sewers, and then goes into the rivers, and then goes into the ocean.
exactly. There it is.
And I remember when we were young, that we had no idea that dumping stuff in the ocean was so damaging.
Yes.
But now we know, so we have to stop.
Well, it's got to even be explained and encouraged in the schools
Yes.
to the youth.
Yes.
That's where it's really got to
Yes.
start. I mean,
There's
even the little kindergarten
The
kids.
littlest ones, because that's where you'll inculcate it. I remember a woman saying that they went to do this during COVID, we still have COVID, but this little kid she was with went into the elevator and touched the button with his knuckle. They were all like, oh, that's so good. And then they realized that was the way that he is taught to touch the button. Right. So that when it's taught that early, it just becomes part of the mindset. There's a woman working in the New Haven schools, Joanne Moran, who actually was influenced by a show that I had at the Kellogg Nature Center in Derby. And she goes in and she works with the kids, and they make fish out of trash. And then they learn about the problems of plastic pollution. So she's doing, that's someone who's doing something
Yes.
very specific and really focused in a wonderful way to teach kids when they're doing some kind of activity.
Exactly. They're learning as they're doing, and that's the best way to do it.
Yes, yeah. And then there are people who I remember when Cirque du Soleil came, and this must have been at least
Hello. How are you?
13 years ago, because my mother was still alive. When you bought water, they sold it to you in a metal souvenir box. They didn't sell water in plastic bottles.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yes. So there are people who are making inroads. My sister-in-law just got back from Kenya, and she said, you can be arrested if you throw away a plastic bag. She said they could bring their Ziploc bags with them, but they have to bring them back to the United States. So in Kenya, there was a ban
Excellent.
on plastic bags. And where we go in the winter, Bonaire, there's a ban on most plastic takeaway. That's what they call it. Carry out food items.
Yes.
It has to be bamboo forks and knives and paper boxes. I mean,
Yes.
people still throw them by the side of the road, but at least it will degrade. Right?
Or better yet, just bring your own.
Yes,
When you're
but there's some places that won't allow you to do that, like
Yeah.
Whole Foods, for a very long time, you couldn't bring your own. And they kind of reprimanded me at the checkout when they said don't do it again. And I was like, okay, I'll just bring them once, just like theirs.
Put it in your pocket so they can't even see it.
Right. But now Whole Foods doesn't have plastic containers for you to put their bulk items in, they have paper bags.
Yeah.
So there's a little movement, but we need to get back to the, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola having, only selling in cans or in glass returnable bottles.
Yes.
And the same with, beer, so.
But of course, the plastics industry doesn't want to push that.
Oh,
out.
no, it'd be, it's true. That there's been pressure put on companies. In fact, Epson, I have an Epson EcoTank printer, and what I didn't know is it has this, it's called an ink maintenance tank. And somehow it collects the excess ink, and it has to be replaced in once in a while. I had no idea. But you can go online and get a prepaid FedEx label and send it back to Epson.
To have them fill it.
No, they don't fill it, they clean it out. It comes empty.
Okay.
And then they refurbish them.
Oh, that's
So
big
that
progress.
is because that's part of it, is that manufacturers need to take responsibility for what they're doing. And in this way, Epson is.
Yes.
Now, not in every way. And well, they do have a recycling program. You can send the whole printer back to them. Yeah.
That's good to know.
It is good to know. And it's important to know that about which companies do this. I mean, we can't always be perfect. Or you wouldn't buy anything ever, right?
There's something to be said for that too. Just go back to the farm.
Right. Well, that's what I was thinking. Now that I'm 70, what advice would I give a person who's just starting out? A young person, and I'd say, buy less house than you think you need. Buy less clothes than you think you need, and buy less car than you think you need, or what? Yeah.
Exactly. So there are those that feel they have to keep up with the Joneses, which is so sad. So sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So wonderful to meet you.
Well, lovely to speak with you.
Yes.
I wish you well as you.
Thank you.
Now, are you taking this exhibit elsewhere or not?
I don't have any place for it right now, but it will go other places, I'm sure. It will. I'm not. I'll start putting out. I have enough already in 2025. So.
Just go to MoMA. That's all.
Right. That's what I'd like. right.
It would fit in MoMA.
Right. So
Just knock on the door and say, I just happen to have this artwork.
Right. I'm sure you want it. So, or the Whitney.
Or the Whitney.
I think it should be
Okay.
in the Whitney. Yeah. So.
Oh my. Well,
Yeah.
all the best to you. It's a
much.
joy having talked with you and having had you create these extraordinary exhibits.
I will say that the library was very supportive of the art itself.
Good.
They said, your work is exquisite, we're really happy to have it. And I'm glad to see that. And it's wonderful to see, I forget. And then I hang the show and I said, God, look at that, that's beautiful. And said Laura DeRosa, is she the Shelton Derby? Anyway, her campaign manager was at a show that I had of these, and he said, they're beautiful and scary. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah.
They're very realistic.
Yeah.
And not enough people are willing to accept the realism that is around us.
Yes.
So,
Hello.
well.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.